Stop trying to fit in. Seriously. A lot of people spend years of their life doing exactly that, and they don't even realize what it's costing them. They think it's harmless. They think it's just part of growing up, part of school, part of being a teenager, part of finding yourself. But a lot of the time, you're not finding yourself at all. You're hiding yourself. And there's a difference. For a big part of my life, I cared way too much about fitting in. Not because I thought it was some great thing, but because I hated standing out. I hated feeling different. I hated feeling like people were looking at me weird. I hated feeling like I was the easy person to pick on, the easy person to laugh at, the easy person to judge. So like a lot of other people do, I started changing myself. Not in some huge dramatic way, just slowly. I changed how I acted. I changed how I dressed. I changed how I talked. I started paying attention to what kind of person got accepted into the popular kids friend group, and then I tried to become more like that. And on the outside, that sounds normal. But looking back at it, it's actually kind of pathetic. Because I was shaping my whole personality around people I didn't even respect. That's what trying to fit in does to you. It makes you hand over control of your identity to the crowd, and the crowd is usually stupid. That's the part nobody says clearly enough. Most groups do not reward individuality, they reward sameness. Same clothes, same haircuts, same jokes, same opinions, same music taste, same attitude. Everybody copying everybody, and somehow calling that normal. And if you're young, it is very easy to fall into that. Because when you're younger, being accepted can feel like survival. One compliment can make your whole day. One insult can ruin it just as fast. One person laughing at you can stay in your head for weeks. So you start thinking, maybe the answer is to just become more like everybody else. Maybe if I wear what they wear, act how they act, care about what they care about, then people will leave me alone. But that doesn't work. Or at least, it does not work in any way that matters. But there's something else people don't even realize. Trying to fit in doesn't even make people respect you. If anything, it does the opposite. Because when you're constantly adjusting yourself, constantly trying to say the right thing, act the right way, match the energy of everyone else around you, it shows. People can tell. They might not say it directly, they might not even fully understand what they're picking up on, but they can feel when someone isn't solid in who they are. And that comes off weak as well. I've noticed this myself. There were times where I was overthinking everything I said, trying to sound right, trying not to say anything weird, trying to blend in perfectly. And those were the moments where I felt the least respected, not because I did something wrong, but because I was trying too hard. And then there are moments where you stop caring as much. You say what you actually think. You act more naturally. You're not constantly checking how you're coming across. And suddenly, people respond better. That's the weird part. The less you try to fit in, the more people actually respect you. Not everyone, but the right people. And that matters way more. Because forcing yourself to be accepted by everyone usually just makes you forgettable. There's nothing solid there. Nothing real. Just somebody trying to match the room. And nobody really respects that long term. Because even if it gets you accepted for a little while, it comes with a price. You lose your edge. You lose your real interests. You lose your real personality. You lose the parts of you that made you different. And after a while, you're not even really living as yourself anymore. You're putting on an act. You're performing. And that's what fitting in really is. It's a performance. It's looking around the room and asking what version of me gets approved here, and then becoming that version. That's a horrible habit to build, because once you start doing it, it spreads into everything. Now you don't just change your clothes, you change your goals, you change your opinions, you change what you admit to caring about. You stop saying what you really think, you stop doing what actually interests you, and you become smaller. This is the real damage. Trying to fit in makes your life smaller. You stop doing certain things because people might judge you. You stop saying certain things because people might laugh at you. You stop going after certain goals because people around you don't understand them. And slowly, without noticing, you start building a life around avoiding embarrassment instead of becoming something. That's a terrible trade, because now your life isn't even yours anymore. It belongs to the people around you. And most of those people aren't even thinking for themselves either. That's the funny part. The same people everybody is trying so hard to impress are usually doing the exact same thing themselves. They are also trying to fit in, They are also scared to stand out, scared to be judged, scared to look different, scared to break away from the group. So now you have a whole crowd of people copying each other, all pretending that it's confidence. It's not confidence, it's fear. And at some point, that has to start bothering you. You have to look around and ask yourself, why am I trying so hard to become normal? Why am I trying so hard to be accepted by people who are not even comfortable being themselves? Why am I shaping my whole life around the opinions of people who have nothing I actually want? These questions matter, because most people never think about them. They stay in the cycle. They spend years trying to fit in, and then one day they look up and realize they have no idea who they are without people around. That's sad. And the worst part is, the things they hid were usually the best parts of them. The things that made them different. The things that made them interesting. The things that could have turned into real skills later. But they buried all of it because standing out felt uncomfortable. And I get it. Standing out is uncomfortable. Being judged is uncomfortable. Being different is uncomfortable. Being misunderstood is very uncomfortable. But you know what else is uncomfortable? Waking up one day and realizing you became a copy. Realizing you spent years trying to be liked. And in the process, becoming boring, replaceable, and fake. That should bother you more. And at some point, I started realizing that the things I actually cared about were never going to fit neatly into what other people thought was normal. And that was probably one of the best realizations I have ever had. Because once you find something you genuinely care about, something real, something bigger than approval, fitting in starts to look cheap. It starts to look like a distraction. Because if you're serious about building anything meaningful, you're going to stand out. That's just how the world works. If you think differently, you will stand out. If you work harder than the people around you, you'll stand out. If you care more about your future, you'll stand out. If you stop following the crowd, you'll stand out. There's no way around that. So trying to fit in while also trying to become something bigger is almost impossible. At some point, you have to choose. Do you want approval, or do you want a real life worth something? Because a lot of the time, you don't get to choose both. And I'm not saying you need to become weird on purpose. I'm not saying you need to force yourself to be different just for attention. No. I'm saying stop editing yourself down just to make other people more comfortable. Stop hiding what makes you, you. Stop making your whole life smaller just so you blend in with people who are going nowhere. Because the truth is, you're never going to be liked by everyone, no matter what you do. Someone will still think you're weird. Someone will always misunderstand you. Someone will always have something to say. So if that's true anyway, then why spend your life trying to please all of them? It makes no sense. You lose yourself chasing an approval that was never stable in the first place. And by the time you realize that, you may have already spent years being a version of yourself that was built for other people. So stop trying to fit in, not because being different is automatically cool, but because constantly shaping yourself around other people is weak. And because some of the best things about you will only show up once you stop being so scared to stand out.